Story number 1. Am I the a-hole for leaving my surprise wedding? Because I felt blindsided. Last week, I30F was invited to a supposedly fancy party by my longtime boyfriend, Mark32M. We had been dating for 5 years, and while we had discussed marriage before, there were no immediate plans for a wedding. Excited about the event, I dressed up in my best attire and arrived at the designated venue. As I entered the grand hall, I was completely taken aback to see all of our family, friends, and acquaintances gathered, eagerly waiting. It turns out, Mark had orchestrated an elaborate surprise wedding for us without my knowledge. Everyone erupted into applause as I stood there, shocked and overwhelmed. I just felt a mix of emotions. While I love Mark and had dreamed of our future together, the idea of getting married without any prior discussion or consent felt like a breach of trust. So, I pulled Mark aside and tried to express my concerns and reservations about the surprise wedding. I explained that I wanted a say in the planning process, to be part of the decision-making, and to have the chance to prepare mentally and emotionally for such a significant milestone in our lives. However, Mark dismissed my concerns, saying that he thought it would be a romantic gesture and that I would be thrilled in that moment. I faced a difficult choice: go along with the surprise wedding, putting on a smile despite feeling unsettled, or stand up for my autonomy and voice my true feelings. I ultimately made the decision not to proceed with the surprise wedding, much to the disappointment and confusion of our guests. Now I find myself at odds with Mark, our families, and even some of our friends who believe I overreacted and spoiled a beautiful moment. However, I firmly believe that a marriage should be a joint decision with open communication and shared expectations. Everyone's excuse for this is I have always talked about marrying Mark, and again, the problem isn't marrying him. The problem is not having any say in my wedding. Mark thought I'd appreciate it, because I always spoke about how stressful planning a wedding must be. Yes, I think it's stressful. It is, but I'd still like planning one. After this whole ordeal, everyone asked if Mark and I were ending things, in which I replied no. I emphasized towards them and Mark that I still wanted to marry him. And most feel like this is making me more of an a-hole, since I just wasted a perfectly fine wedding. So am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my own surprise wedding, even though it was intended as a romantic gesture? Edit: I previously omitted this from my post because of the subreddit's word count guidelines. I love surprises. It's a thing everyone has known me to love. Mark knowing that. The fact I wanted to marry him and said wedding planning was stressful, thought a surprise wedding would be perfect. A surprise engagement is bland, because it will always be a surprise, but not a wedding, lol. He threw this wedding for the surprise, but explained how in a couple days we could do a courthouse wedding to make it legal. This was his only way to surprise me. I love spontaneity, but legal marriage or not, I wanted a say in my wedding, to choose the perfect date, to choose my bridesmaids, to pick out my cake. Again, due to these thoughts, everyone thinks I'm a-hole because I could have went along with the party and do a redo legal wedding. But again, I felt blindsided and confused, so I left. End of the story. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment. Story number 2.
Am I the a-hole for not letting my daughter use my wife's dress for her own wedding? I am 49, have 3 kids: Anna, F24, Michael, M19, and Caroline, F16. My wife, the kids' mom, passed away 16 years ago. She was the love of my life. We were high school sweethearts and got married while we were in college. She loved weddings and had planned hers since she was a little kid. So for our wedding she got a custom-made dress, very beautiful. I keep the dress in a hanger in my closet to keep her close in some way. Our kids love the dress too, because of the emotional value it has. We have some photos of our wedding day hanged in our house. Anna has always loved the dress and has said since she was young That she wanted a dress just like that one for her own wedding, which I thought was sweet. Her fiancé and her got engaged 2 months ago, and they're planning their wedding. Well, the issue is that Anna asked me to borrow my wife's dress and some other stuff like the veil and some jewelry for the wedding. I said she can wear the jewelry as long as she gives it back, but she can't use the dress or the veil. The thing is, my wife was on the chubby side, while Anna is very skinny, so she would have to modify the dress in order to fit her. I told her she can take some photos and get a custom-made dress that's like her mom's, but there's absolutely no way I'll let her borrow and ruin the dress. Now my family is against me. They think I should let her borrow the dress. Some of my wife's family agree too, since they said they'd like to see Anna wearing the dress. However, some of my wife's family, like my mill, agree with me that the dress will never be the same if Anna wears it. It'll be Anna's dress and not my wife's. End of the story. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment.
Story number 3.
Am I the a-hole for not agreeing to be friends with a guy that bullied me in high school? I, 25F, was severely bullied in high school. I was considered quite chubby. I think I was 130 pounds at the time, 160 cm, and I had a bit of a stutter. The stutter was cause of anxiety, and it would only happen when I was around people that would be mean or bully me. In my junior year, a boy in my grade joined in on the bullying. Let's call him Jake. He was so much worse than everyone else. He used to follow me on my walk home and pour things on me, push me into bushes or into oncoming traffic, etc. He once pushed me into a lake when we were on a school trip when he found out I couldn't swim. I could go on and on about the things he did to me, but we would be here all day. After one particular incident where he made fun of me for my appearance, I really couldn't take it anymore. It wasn't the worst thing he did, but it was the straw that broke the camel's back. I tried to commit unalive with sleeping pills, but my uncle found me and took me to the hospital. I was in a coma for 11 days. I didn't go back to school after that and was homeschooled for my senior year. I never spoke to anyone from my school except 2 girls, Kate and Sarah, who checked up on me at the hospital. We're still friends. I moved away from that town after high school. I'm back in town for the first time in 7-ish years now. My cousin is getting married, so I'm here for her wedding. I decided to come a week early to spend time with my parents. I went to a bar with Kate and Sarah a couple of days ago and I saw Jake. I didn't recognize him at first, but Sarah told me it was him. I felt kind of anxious but decided to pretend like he wasn't there. He approached us as we were leaving and said hi to me. I said hi and engaged in the small talk. Our Uber arrived, so we said bye to him and left. He sent me an email, not sure how he got it, but I've had this email since high school, so maybe he's had it since. I don't know, that was quite long. He apologized for everything he did and said he's mortified he was even that kind of person. He said it's been haunting him since he heard of my attempt and he's deeply sorry. I replied to him saying it's alright and I forgave him a long time ago because I didn't want to hold on to hate and resentment from high school. I ran into him again at a pharmacy and he asked if we could talk. We went outside and he asked if we could go for dinner as friends and catch up. I said sorry, but I would really rather not. He asked why I can't go for dinner if I've apparently forgiven him. I said forgiveness doesn't mean I have to engage or be friends with him, and I simply don't want to be friends. It'll be weird given our history and I'd rather not be reminded of my high school years. He looked bummed out but didn't insist, and left. He sent another email 3 hours ago saying he can't bring himself to forgive himself if he doesn't feel like I have, and that me refusing to even have dinner with him makes him feel like I haven't forgiven him and the guilt is eating him up. I replied saying, I'm sorry, but I'm not having dinner with you and you should take that up with a therapist. I've told you I have forgiven you. I just don't want to have dinner with you and I'm not going to force myself to do so to ease your conscience. I told my parents of this whole thing and they said I'm being too harsh on him and that I should do what I can to make him forgive himself because no one deserves to live with guilt. They said one dinner is nothing and I should just suck it up and go. I said no and kind of got angry at them. I really don't know whether I'm being irrational or not. Am I the a-hole? End of the story. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment. Hit like and follow to subscribe for more intriguing stories. Thanks for watching.